2.3 A New Conservatism after 1815. Following the defeat of Napoleon in 1815, European governments were driven by a spirit of conservatism. Conservatives believed that established traditional institutions of state and society like the monarchy, the church, social hierarchies, property, and the family should be preserved. Most conservatives, however, did not propose a return to the society of pre-revolutionary days. Rather, they realized from the changes initiated by Napoleon that modernization could in fact strengthen traditional institutions like monarchy. It could make state power more effective and strong. A modern army, an efficient bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, the abolition of feudalism and serfdom could strengthen the autocratic monarchies of Europe. In 1815, representatives of the European powers, Britain, Russia, Prussia and Austria, who had collectively defeated Napoleon, met at Vienna to draw up a settlement for Europe. The Congress was hosted by the Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich. The delegates drew up the Treaty of Vienna of 1815 with the objective of undoing most of the changes that had come about in Europe during the Napoleonic Wars. The Bourbon dynasty, which had been deposed during the French Revolution, was restored to power, and France lost the territories it had annexed under Napoleon. A series of states were set up on the boundaries of France to prevent French expansion in future. Thus, the Kingdom of Netherlands, which included Belgium, was set up in the north of Genoa, was added to Piedmont in the south. Prussia was given important new territories on its western frontiers, while Austria was given control of northern Italy. But the German Confederation of 39 states that had been set up by Napoleon was left untouched. In the east, Russia was given part of Poland, while Prussia was given a portion of Saxony. The main intention was to restore the monarchies that had been overthrown by Napoleon and create a new conservative order in Europe. Conservative regimes set up in 1815 were autocratic. They did not tolerate criticism and dissent, and sought to curb activities that questioned the legitimacy of autocratic governments. Most of them imposed censorship laws to control what was said in newspapers, books, plays, and songs, and reflected the idea of liberty and freedom. Associated with the French Revolution. The memory of the French Revolution nonetheless continued to inspire liberals. One of the major issues taken up by the liberal nationalists who criticized the new conservative order was freedom of the press. 2.4 The Revolutionaries. During the years following 1815, the fear of repression drove many liberal nationalists underground. Secret societies sprang up in many European states to train revolutionaries and spread their ideas. To be revolutionary at this time meant a commitment to oppose monarchical forms that had been established after the Vienna Congress, and to fight for liberty and freedom. Most of these revolutionaries also saw the creation of nation-states as a necessary part of this struggle for freedom. One such individual was the Italian revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini. Born in Genoa in 1807, he became a member of the secret society of the Carbonari. As a young man of 24, he was sent to exile in 1831 for attempting a revolution in Liguria. He subsequently founded two more underground societies, first Young Italy in Marseille and then Young Europe in Bern, whose members were like-minded young men from Poland, France, Italy and German states. Mazzini believed that God had intended nations to be the natural units of mankind. So, Italy could not continue to be a patchwork of small states and kingdoms. It had to be forged into single unified republic within a wider alliance of nations. This unification alone could be the basis of Italian liberty. Following his model, secret societies were set up in Germany, France, Switzerland, and Poland. Mazzini's relentless opposition to monarchy and his vision of democratic republics frightened the conservatives. Metternich described him as the most dangerous enemy of our social order. The Age of Revolutions, 1830 to 1848. As the conservative regimes tried to consolidate their power, liberalism and nationalism came to be increasingly associated with revolution. In many regions of Europe, such as the Italian and German states, the provinces of the Ottoman Empire, Ireland, and Poland. These revolutions were led by liberal nationalists belonging to the educated middle class elite, among whom were professors, school teachers, clerks, and members of the commercial middle class. The first upheaval took place in France in July 1830. The Bourbon kings had been restored to power during the conservative reaction after 1815, were now overthrown by liberal revolutionaries who installed a constitutional monarchy with Louis Philippe at its head. When France sneezes, Metternich once remarked, the rest of the Europe catches cold. The July Revolution sparked an uprising in Brussels, which led to Belgium breaking away from the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. An event that mobilized nationalist feelings among the educated elite across Europe was the Greek War of Independence. Greece had been a part of the Ottoman Empire since the 15th century. The growth of revolutionary nationalism in Europe sparked off a struggle for independence amongst the Greek which had begun in 1821. Nationalists in Greece got support from other Greeks living in exile and also from many West Europeans who had sympathies for ancient Greek culture. Poets and artists lauded Greece as the cradle of European civilization and mobilized public opinion to support its struggles against a Muslim empire. The English poet Lord Byron organized funds and later went to fight in the war, where he died of fever in 1824. Finally, the Treaty of Constantinople of 1832 recognized Greece as an independent nation. 3.1 The Romantic Imagination of National Feeling. The development of nationalism did not come about only through wars and territorial expansions. Culture played an important role in creating the idea of the nation. Art and poetry, stories and music helped express and shape nationalist feelings. Let us look at Romanticism, a cultural movement which sought to develop a particular form of nationalist sentiment. Romantic artists and poets generally criticized the glorification of reason and science, and focused instead on emotions, institutions, and mystical feelings. Their effort was to create a sense of shared collective heritage, a common cultural past, as the basis of nation. Other romantics, such as the German philosopher Johann Gottfried Herder, who lived from 1744 to 1803, claimed that true German culture was to be discovered among the people, das Volk. It was through folk songs, folk poetry, and folk dances that the true spirit of the nation, Volksgeist, was popularized. So collecting and recording these forms of culture was essential to the project of nation building. The emphasis on vernacular language and collection of local folklore was not just to recover an ancient national spirit, but also to carry the modern message, nationalist message, to large audiences who were mostly literate. This was especially so in the case of Poland, which had been partitioned at the end of the 18th century by the Great Powers, Russia, Prussia, and Austria. Even though Poland no longer existed as an independent territory, nationalist feelings were kept alive through music and language. Karol Karpinski, for example, celebrated the national struggle through his operas and music, turning folk dances like Polonaise and Mazurka into nationalist symbols. Language too played an important role in developing nationalist sentiments. After Russian occupation, the Polish language was forced out of the schools and the Russian language was imposed everywhere. In 1831, an armed rebellion against Russian rule took place, which was ultimately crushed. Following this, many members of clergy in Poland began to use language as a weapon of national resistance. Polish was used for church gatherings and all religious instructions. As a result, a large number of priests and bishops were put in jail or sent to Siberia by the Russian authorities as a punishment for their refusal to preach in Russian. The use of Polish came to be seen as a symbol of the struggle against Russian dominance. 3.2 Hunger, Hardship and Popular Revolt. In 1830s the 1830s were the years of great economic hardship in Europe. The first half of the 19th century saw an enormous increase in population all over Europe. In most countries, there were more seekers of jobs than employment. Population from rural areas migrated to the cities to live in overcrowded slums. Small producers in towns were often faced with stiff competition from imports of cheap machine-made goods from England, where industrialization was more advanced than on the continent. This was especially so in textile production, which was carried out mainly in homes or small workshops and was only partly mechanized. In those regions of Europe where the aristocracy still enjoyed power, peasants struggled under the burden of feudal dues and obligations. The rise of food prices or a year of bad harvest led to widespread pauperism in town and country. The year 1848 was one such year. Food shortages and widespread unemployment brought the population of Paris out on the roads. Barricades were erected and Louis Philippe was forced to flee. A National Assembly proclaimed a republic granted suffrage to all adult males above 21 and guaranteed the right to work. National workshops to provide employment were set up. Earlier in 1845, weavers in Silesia had led a revolt against contractors who supplied them raw material and gave them orders for finished textiles, but drastically reduced their payments. The journalist Wilhelm Wolff described the events in a Silesian village as follows. In these villages, with 18,000 inhabitants, cotton weaving is the most widespread occupation. The misery of the workers is extreme. The desperate need for jobs has been taken advantage of by the contractors to reduce the prices of goods they order. On 4th June at 2 p.m., a large crowd of weavers emerged from their homes and marched in pairs up to the mansion of their contractor demanding higher wages. They were threatened to scorn and threats alternately. Following this, a group of them forced their way into the house, smashed its elegant windows, panes, furniture, porcelain. Another group broke into a storehouse and plundered it of supplies of cloth, which they tore to shreds. The contractor fled with his family to a neighboring village, which however refused to shelter such a person. He returned 24 hours later, having requisitioned the army. In the exchange that followed, 11 weavers were shot. 3.3 1848 the Revolution of Liberals. Parallel to the revolts of the poor, unemployed, and starving peasants and workers in many European countries in the year 1848, a revolution led by the educated middle classes was underway. Events of February 1848 in France had brought about the abdication of the monarch, and a republic based on universal male suffrage had been proclaimed. In other parts of Europe, where independent nation-states did not yet exist, such as Germany, Italy, Poland, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, men and women of liberal middle classes combined their demands for constitutionalism with national unification. They took advantage of the growing popular unrest to push their demands for the creation of a nation-state on the parliamentary principles, a constitution, freedom of the press, and freedom of association. In the German regions, a large number of political associations, whose members were middle-class professionals, businessmen, and prosperous artisans, came together in the city of Frankfurt and decided to vote for an all-German National Assembly. On May 18, 1848, 831 elected representatives marched in a festive procession to take their places in the Frankfurt Parliament convened in the Church of St. Paul. They drafted a constitution for German nation to be handed by a monarchy subject to a parliament. When the deputies offered the crown on these terms to Frederick Wilhelm IV, King of Prussia, he rejected it and joined other monarchs to oppose the elected assembly. While the opposition of the aristocracy and military became stronger, the social basis of parliament eroded. The parliament was dominated by the middle class, who resisted the demands of workers and artisans and consequently lost their support. In the end, troops were called in and the assembly was forced to disband. The issue of extending political rights to women was a controversial one within the liberal movement, in which large numbers of women had participated actively for the years. Women had formed their own political associations, founded newspapers, and taken part in political meetings and demonstrations. Despite this, they were denied suffrage rights during the election of the assembly. When the Frankfurt Parliament convened in the Church of St. Paul, women were admitted only as observers to stand in the visitors' gallery. Though conservative forces were able to suppress liberal movements in 1848, they could not restore the older order. Monarchs were beginning to realize that the cycles of revolution and repression could not only be ended by granting concessions to the liberal nationalist revolutionaries. Hence, in the years after 1848, the autocratic monarchies of Central and Eastern Europe began to introduce changes that had already taken place in Western Europe before 1850. Thus, serfdom and bonded labor were abolished both in Habsburg dominions and in Russia. The Habsburg rulers granted more autonomy to the Hungarians in 1867.